therefore doing probably 149er races, and their ability to position on the start line, stop, go, occupy space, you know, get rid of other people. Last year was for guys who'd barely scratched the surface of 18-footer sailing, was pretty formidable. You know, after they won the first heat, and they'd never sailed on Sydney Harbour before. On the second lap, they had to get the course map out to figure out what the third lap looked like.
Like it. Well, we had a couple of our skiff sailors here going around the mark the wrong way, didn't we, this year? That's people who've done it a few times, so exactly. That's confusing. But I just wonder, what is that, the Maersk boys, what are they going to do? What are they going to do now, Bucko? Because, as you probably know, 3-4 months ago, Pete Burling said he's going to go again in the 49er. What do you do if you're the next best 49er sailor, quite possibly capable of winning a medal or even a gold, and it turns out that the best 49er sailor in the world has decided to go again? Probably not the news you were hoping for.
Yeah, no, tricky one that, but I think that the young blokes, you know, would say, okay, Pete Burling's been fantastic, blah, we're not scared. And we've stuck at 49er sailing, whereas Burling's got 88,000 distractions of various kinds, no doubt.
Yeah.
And focus will win the day. That would be the approach, I think.
Yeah.
And I'd say they'd be, if they stuck at that, I'd say they'd be a reasonable chance to succeed.
Oh, and a pretty good challenge too. What you'd feel is if you did manage to get the New Zealand berth, you'd be feeling pretty comfy about the main regatta, wouldn't you?
You'd go to the main regatta with good confidence.
You might have felt you'd already got you already got a medal, and the question is which colour.
Well,
we'll see.
It's never that, as we've seen, but and you know, historically the Olympics have turned up some funny results where the wind didn't blow like it was supposed to, or it blew way more than it was supposed to, or we were told it was going to be no wind, and you know, it was windy. You know, I think Korea springs to mind as one event where it didn't go quite to plan, and equally Beijing, it proved to be far more difficult than people thought. And you know, in the season here, obviously, and in Kiwiland, everybody sails in a pretty wide set of conditions. You know, from minimum wind speed to start to wind speed at the limit of what the committee will start these days. So that experience is good. Anyway, guys, here we are. We are with the committee boat, more or less, and it looks like they're going to set up a course from essentially the northeastern side of Bradley's Head. They'll set probably a 1 mile beat into Watson's Bay, where the wind is probably the best, funneling over what we call the gap, where the cliff out on the ocean side of the track is the lowest, and it generates some kind of small funnel effect. It looked to us on the way here, Mark, that the strongest wind was at Nielsen Park, compressed against the headland there, perhaps 6 or 7 knots, and the committee will start them in this wind speed, I believe.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think once he gets the stability, even some stability of direction, he'll just go with it, because this is sailable. Light airs, but it's sailable.
And don't forget, you know, the ferry patrons are looking for action, not officially correct. Perfect Woodward course. They're looking for 18-footer action.
And as are our viewers at home. Yeah. We've got, even on a day like this, where it's testing the resolve of the keen viewer, wherever you are, dotted around the world. We have an international viewer group, that's for sure. But I know you want to see some real sailing. That's Michael Coxon just off to the right of us. You'll see him in a second, appearing to the right of your camera. There he is. Michael Coxon, the back of Smeg, just a quick word with the camera cap, but no, the viewers, I know we want to see some action. We can't guarantee it to you, but I can guarantee you we've got more chance now than we had half an hour ago. Is that a fair call, Bucko?
Yeah, no, it's very rare that 4 o'clock on a summer afternoon in Sydney Harbour there's not enough wind to go for a race. And
there's plenty of heat, isn't there? I mean, it's only supposed to be 24 degrees today, but I can promise you where I'm sitting is a lot more than 24 degrees.
Yeah, I'm feeling the Played Comfort meter's not a very good place, is it? You know?
Well, you're in your standard jeans and jumper attire, Bucko.
Well, there's no decision to make early in the day. Just put it on and get on with it, you know. It's easy work.
So it's probably in the high 20s here. It's 20 past 3 local time here in Sydney. And across the harbour, well, it's a light day. Relatively speaking, not too much traffic on the harbour. A lot of pleasure boaters will have decided it was a bit overcast and a bit humid and light airs and gone and done something else today. So it's busy. It's always busy on Sydney Harbour, but it's not crazy busy. There will be wash days like today. Is the tide an issue, Bucko? I know they'll be hunting whatever pressure they can find, but from a racing perspective now, is the tide an issue across the racecourse?
It's only about a 1 metre tide. Flood makes the beat long and the run short, so and the beat is easier than the run in this light air in these boats, so the crews wouldn't be too unhappy about that. The committee, I did talk with them in the sort of lead up to the event here, and they're mindful of the conditions and mindful that they will try and get a full-length race in for the first one, and if the wind doesn't build, they will promptly shorten the beat. So they were talking about 0.9 of a mile, which is just from here to Bottle and Glass Rocks, essentially. And if they had to, they'd shorten it to 0.6. So that's what's in their mind when they're figuring out where to put the committee boat. Can they bring the windward mark in 300 metres without getting into the ferry lane, and a few other similar issues?
Yeah, and they'll be keeping the VHF channel open to hear when the ferries are going around Bradley's Head, because they come around a blind corner, don't they, on this race course?
Yeah, the Old Manly ferry doing 16 knots. The closure speed's pretty high.
Yeah, that is for sure. So they'll be keeping an eye on that, but if you've seen the Ripple side, the committee boat has got his anchor down. That's good news, number one. Good news number two is he's facing in a consistent direction, driven by mostly wind. That's not a tide direction, that is a Bucko. So what little wind there is, he's lining up to the wind, which is good.
Yeah, but we're just after the change of tide, so
yeah,
I think it looks stable. Looking up at Asco, one of the boats a little further away from the line here, the wind looks stable. He's coming downwind reasonably, just main and jib, and
050 at
we'll get a start in.
0.7.
So 05 is towards the Watsons Bay Hotel. Marco, we go there afterwards for one?
Yeah, well, it's a fine place. Anyone comes to Sydney Harbour on your holidays, go up to, most people do go to Watsons Bay. They have been going there for years. There's a famous fish restaurant called Doyle's, but the Watson Bay Hotel's become a bit of a
terrible place.
Bit of a thing, isn't it? Did you go there a few times, do you, Jimmy?
Been there a few times.
It's not bad on a Sunday, is it?
It's very good.
Yeah. They serve a particularly refreshing brand of beer. That's probably the reason you go, isn't it?
Well, you've got to sample the beer in every
and
pub in Australia, I think, isn't that the rule?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a top place, Watsons Bay. So that's where our beat is, in that direction. It won't be as far as Watsons Bay because I don't think there's enough wind to get us up there and down the number of laps you want us to do. Yeah, there's the mark. You probably can't see it. It's too far on the camera, but if you see that kind of white lighthouse-looking thing right in front of in the middle of the screen right now, the buoy is to the right, little orange and white dot just to the right, just to the left of that orange stripy spinnaker. That gives you an idea about where the buoy is. That's dead upwind. And as you said, Bucko, a mile, give or take, maybe less than a mile. That looks about right, doesn't it?
Looks like a mile to me. I don't have the chart on me, but...
So, which side of the beat, Bucko? That's your call.
We got to go east here, mate. Hard right, hard. Jimmy, you're with that, aren't you? Absolutely.
So you want to get on port tack as soon as you can, even port tack start?
Yeah, whatever. No port tack
start.
So,
Bucko, just explain. Why do you want to go hard right in such a committed fashion?
More wind on the right edge.
So it's just a pressure hunt?
Yeah, it's a pressure hunt. That describes the whole race, a pressure hunt.
And is that what you're seeing right now with your eyes, or that's just history tells you that's the way to go?
That's, it's only 10 or 20 years of history, do you think?
So it's a history thing. Okay.
No, but we observed it a bit. The first place the wind looks stable is the compression against Nielsen Park on the eastern shore.
Yeah.
And the best bit of the funnel is the low point of the hill, basically behind the mark at Watsons Bay, where the height of the cliff goes from 100 metres down to 50 metres sort of thing, and the wind just leaps over there and gets a little downslope, down the grassy slope into Watsons Bay, and comes over there pretty smooth, it seems. So.
We've seen that a couple of weeks ago, remember, with Finport and Asco charging in there, and they were first and second in those races on that day too. So.
Well, we've had a few JJ races set up on this race course in the past, so this is not an unfamiliar racetrack for the sailors. Maybe for the viewers, you haven't seen this angle of Sydney Harbour previously, but there's every chance we're going to see this on the JJ, so another good reason to get a bit of practice time in. But this isn't just practicing, as we said before. This is the Australian Championship. This is races 1 and 2, at least race 1 today, maybe race 2 as well, 20th of January. And Watsons Bay is in our sights. Upwind, downwind. Bucko, the downwind's going to be tricky as you like here, isn't it? You're going to have to, again, probably commit to a side, and you probably can't change your mind halfway down.
Yeah, driving's pretty expensive, so, but I would expect, you know, the upwind and the downwind route are basically identical. You know, flip her over. You know, typically the wind a little more right on the right edge and a little more left on the left edge, so you sail in the header on that edge and then come to the header on this edge. But as we sit here now, Mark, we've got 6-7 knots of wind, and I would expect the committee might get rolling pretty shortly.
Yeah, it's got that feeling about it, hasn't it? We've just seen that kayaker coming downwind past the committee boat. It's punchy on a Sunday afternoon. There you go, Bucko. Very nice.
Here we go.
Future looking from you. We're off. The AP is down. Set your
Just remember,
watches.
Mark, we should always remember what Groucho Marx said. Predicting the past is pretty difficult.
Yes.
The future we should leave alone, yes?
Absolutely right. And not long to go for the next hooter. That will be the 5-minute gun. Class flag going up soon. Get ready for that. The line is up. The drone is up as well. Everything's up in the air. We'll get a drone picture coming soon. And we'll get an idea. The line's looking pretty left. Looks to me like there's another reason to go for a left-end start, get onto port here, Bucko. That looks pretty port end, doesn't it? But I seem to remember the favoured start here of a lot of the boats is just to start on port, middle of the line, get onto port early, reach down and hope to goodness you find a gap.
Yeah, I mean, escaping from the pack, it's, you know, and these boats are big enough that a rack up of starboard tackers bends the wind a fair way.
5-minute gun.
5 minutes. So port tack, despite the fact it looks a bit odd, you actually, after about, with the other guys all squeezing and pinching each other off, after about a minute you probably come out square. It doesn't matter where you know, basically what you've done. So, and if you thought the right hand side was a good side to go to, then you kind of go, well, okay, let's get on the port as soon as we can somehow and ignore the line bias. And as you would observe here, on starboard at the leeward end, you're going into less wind because of sort of behind a headland and the pressure lifts off to go over the hill on the leeward edge here. So I think you'll see some quick, prompt action onto port.
Yeah, I think that's right. Well, we're getting a nice shot from the drone to give you an idea about the fleet. It's an 18-boat fleet today where everybody is present and correct, I think.
Well, no, we're missing the...
who have we got?
Finport is missing.
The Finport is MIA'd.
Yes.
I was hoping to get the who was your pick first, and you to go Finport, and then chip you on that one, Bucko.
That was a 4-minute
No,
gun
the
just
Finport, all skilled personnel on leave, you know.
Yeah, they're all on working holidays, I think, allegedly, but other way around, they're not here.
Yeah.
But they'll probably be watching. They're skiing in America, which I think Keegan is. This is a good time zone to be watching, so maybe he's keeping his eyes on what's going on in the fleet. For once, he hasn't handed the boat to someone else. He quite often does that, doesn't he?
And yeah, but Matty Stenner's also otherwise disposed, I believe. So.
And Charlie's regular bowman's up the bow on Armarine Pitwater with Simon Nern.
Yeah, so Charlie has ever having a crack and filling in for somebody. A young fellow that can't do quite enough sailing.
So we've got about 3 minutes and 10 seconds till the start. In this kind of light stuff, Bucko, it's one of the challenges here is it's no longer the how do you stand still skill. It's kind of how do you get yourself in the right place when the gun goes? Because I mean, what's the boat speed going to be here? 3 knots, maybe 4. Best case upwind.
Just looking upwind, as you would say here, the breeze back rotated to what the model said it would do, further right. So the wind direction on the eastern shore now nearer to 070, so about 15 degrees right of the course axis, which emphasises the fact that port tack might be a good plan in a sense.
Yeah.
But if you look at leeward end, you'll see not much wind.
No, it does. You're right. But look at that big port. I can just see Triple M down there on a very high port, having just done a nice little roll tack. And down at the committee boat end, there's Winning Group, and you've got John Winning on the helm, and you've got Sevi and Sam on board, and that's 2/3 of the God Love It 7 crew, and I know how much Sevi in these conditions loved the port tack start. Every single time he'd go for it, even if it meant ducking half the fleet. Didn't matter, still got himself out on port. And
Escape.
As you said,
escape.
It looks bad for the first minute, and then it looks better and better and better. So every chance that they'll be having that conversation on board Winning Group. That's the blue-hulled boat, just sailing to the right-hand side of your picture right now. She's still down this end. But we've got 1 minute and 40 seconds left. You've got to make your mind up now. It probably will take you 2 minutes to sail the line right now, so you've got a major decision.
No, it's probably 1 minute if they're not in
Do you
dirty
think?
air.
From here?
About a minute
maybe.
at full noise. The breeze just pressing in enough. You know, there'll be 2 strings, I think, off the line. Not full pressure, but looking to the east where the wind inevitably has to come from, it's definitely bending right and not a great amount of build, but still around 6 knots.
Okay, get ready for the 1 minute gun. Set your watches. If when you're watching at home, get an accurate time on the start line, about 2 seconds. There we go, 1 minute to go now, and we're saying maybe 5 to 6 knots now, Bucko, although there hasn't been 5 to 6 knots all day, so no one's had a chance to kind of have a quick line up to check their settings. They've just got to go with what they've go with.
They'll be right, mate. They'll be on maximum sag, whatever.
Maximum power.
Yeah, maximum grunt.
Yeah.
John O'Witty lining up pretty well here at the windward end on Ilvey with his boys. And the other favourites, and, you know, give some points to Rob Greenhow. He's probably knows, he's got enough awareness to solve the puzzle. Everybody else probably a bit conventional.
Is Rob sailing today?
Including Smeg, I believe so, yeah.
Okay. So we've just got we're just coming up now, 15 seconds to go to the start. It's pretty slow motion sailing. You can look down the line. The drone's got the pin nicely lined up. Triple M is still looking for that port tack start, but they're going to have to duck at least 1, if not 2. Then that gets ugly. Start in 5 seconds time. Middle of the line looks good, but very left end bias, isn't it, Bucko? Who can get onto port? That's what this game is going to be all about. It's only a marginal cross on starboard right now.
Yeah, and look at winning group. I mean, started late at the boat, but free to do 2 little tacks, get going, escape.
They were trying for the port hander there, and they just got locked out by
Quality Marine. Yeah, but they had a bailout route arranged, so
Dalzotto.
they've got an option. Wow.
Here they go.
No mucking around there, is
so
there?
committed to doing this route. This is
They
what
know
we
where
thought
they
they'd do.
wanna
I hope they get past the anchor chain.
He's a bit early, but he's okay.
Yeah, he's just made that. Clip the anchor chain.
We'll have a bit of anchor chain, thank you.
With the tiller extension, but that's clean and they're round. They're allowed to do that. Off they go. So you can tell which way they think is the right way to go. But on camera right now, we're down at the pin end, and you can see anyone who get onto port, though the rush to port hasn't quite happened as we thought it would do, Bucko, is it? Only the winning group right at the far end at the committee boat, they've tacked onto port. Triple M tried the port tack start down the pin end, but you can see what's happened to them. They had to duck so many boats. They're now effectively in the middle of the line, but finally getting themselves out and onto port.
But the whole fleet gets committed to this sort of squeezing match, and it's a bit of a, you know, I'm better than you type deal in some degree, I think.
And they're not on the VMGs, are they? They're all sailing too thin, probably.
High and slow.
But you mentioned John O'Witty before, and he's got a lovely start. He's just the boat on screen right now. That is Ilve. And Jono, you mentioned before, found a nice little gap down at the committee boat. And no one will tack and cross him right now. He's currently the leader on the water.
Yeah. So he thinks the wind is good against this headland, which it probably is. Up to the headland, probably good. Bit dangerous to get into this bay, as we noted in the lead up, but he's getting towards 2 strings pressure and reasonably lifted. So his breeze is...
Mustafa on board again this week. He's got the young Bermuda Mustafa. Did the Youth America's Cup up the bow.
Excellent. Okay, well, that's good experience for everyone. It sounds like he's doing a good job, but they are currently marginally leading on the water. Most of the fleet, as you can see, are on to his left-hand side, down the pin end. People starting to flick over to port now. ASCO are right in on the rocks, just on the shoreline. Armarine tacking there now. Most of the fleet having to tack to port because they're hitting a landmass. No choice there, but I think they're all happy to be on port and getting out into the cleaner breeze. But still a lot of boat-on-boat restriction here, Bucko. That whole issue about sailing thinner than you want to, they're all getting caught in this game. In the meantime, the boat which was the original boat to get onto port, that's the winning group, albeit at the unfavoured end of the line, they have been out on port all by themselves, and right now they look a little bow up.
Yeah, and he's roaring along. He's got quite good pressure. Probably right now the best wind is right at this little headland here.
Yeah,
so
just where we are down on the camera, and there's Yandu on camera right now.
We'd expect Ilvey to probably come out of this in front at this point, and he's lined up to lay into Nielsen Park. And if you wanted to join the dots together, you'd say the dot from this headland to the Nielsen Park headland, probably not a bad thing. And if we look at these guys now sheeted on port, the wind is well left of the course axis.
So
The
there's
thing to take into
well,
consideration
well
too,
righted.
Bucko, is you've got a ferry coming down from Manly as well on this long cross, and that'll be joining them just at the halfway point.
there's always some ferry at Manly Ferry, isn't there? It always happens.
Well, there's now 3 kinds of Manly ferry, Mark. The big ship one and 2 fast, medium fast catamaran ferries.
So most left-hand boat is the Kitchen Maker. We saw her just a second ago tacking. So she's the most left-hand boat, and we've then got Asco, which is in the hard left as well. You can just see on the drone picture there now. There is Asco.
So there's only one question mark. Who's got the most wind?
Yeah, absolutely right. And
Wind group's looking good out there,
right
aren't they?
now, the boat that is in the hard right, you might see on the drone picture just in the far right of your shot, the only boat on starboard right now. I know, actually Smeg is on starboard too, but the right-hand boat winning, she is, at the moment, clear ahead of the whole fleet if the current angles hold. She's got a decent amount of pressure, she's reasonably bow up, but a lot can happen when the boats are this far apart on opposite sides of the beat. 5 degrees or 2 or 3 knots of extra breeze, the whole story changes. But we are in amongst the left-hand group right now.
Mark, these guys are going to a prolonged header. They have to just put the bow down and go. You know, we just had a look at the Kitchen Maker sailing high and flow, which is not the correct answer here, I don't think.
No, I think you're right. She's that left-hand boat, and you're about to see as the drone picture widens up is Asco sailing super delicately. Look at these guys. We might get a chance to look at Asco now. There's James
Marcus
Doran.
Ashley Jones on the sheet.
Marcus Ashley Jones on tippy toes. James Doran on tippy toes as well, showing some good light air technique. Everybody getting the weight far forward. Bucko, this is just to reduce the drag gain, is it?
Yeah, the displacement hull at this speed, so get the fine bow waterline in, get the transom immersion to 0, essentially. Get your luff sag up in the head as much as you can, but they don't really like going high and slow, these boats, so I'll be happy to see a bit of pressing on the jib as we start.
There we go. We got the shot of Vintech. You can see the crewman up on the front of the foredeck, and helmsman dancing on light toes, light feet, trying to keep this little boat trucking along. Vintech doing pretty nicely. She's up in the leading group.
Yeah,
She's done well in the breezy days, and now she's shown she's got some light air pace as well.
And the cross coming up here, Ilvi and the winning group tacked back to go into the pressure evident to them in Rose Bay, which I think Ilvi leads actually.
I think also the winning group didn't like the look that they weren't going to cross these guys, so they may as well go back.
But what typically happens here, Mark, is the breeze bends around the Nelson Park headland. You see winning group from where we are lifted relative to these guys here, and then winning group will go into the header and tack and come out, and the difference is 30 degrees, and it's not critical today probably.
What's going on with that top batten, Bucko?
Oh, that's a square top. It's a very modern idea, Jimmy.
I know that, but it looks like there's a fair bit of layoff on that top batten. Is that broken, do you think?
No, it's as designed.
Yeah?
It's intended. You know, it's a bit like the end of the birdwing, mate. The feathers are twisted, aren't they? Reduce the tip vortex.
I don't look at too many birds, mate. Not the
listen.
feathered type, anyway.
I've seen you in Wahuni Cove, and I didn't think you were looking at the seagull. Oh, I'm sorry, you were looking at the seagulls.
So there's Ilvi.
And winning group has now got stuck a bit here. They've tacked into a spot with no wind, and they're coming back out. So a great roll tack from them. Find the wind, men. Find the wind.
Just in the top of your screen on the drone shot, you can see the winning group just tacking. They're trying to pump that mainsail. It's a very slow roll tack, but they just want to get all the battens popped in the mainsail, which they still haven't quite done. I'm not sure if you can see that on screen, but it's tough. They've probably got clicked too much batten tension on that winning group mainsail. They've flicked it now. They've done it. So on starboard, right-hand side of the track, winning group marginally leading. Noakes just to leeward of them. They're both crossing. Royal Oak is just crossing Noakes by a small amount. And we're going to have to see how winning group does on Ilvi, Vintech, Asco and Kitchen Maker, who are all the leaders out of the left-hand side. These two groups are coming together. The left look a little better, Bucko, but there's not much in it, is
I
there?
think the winning group, they just needed a bit more courage to go to the next line, and they would have been fine. But they're in the top 3 with their jib battens stuck on the something or other there. Not looking so good.
Looks like on the side stay, Bucko.
Yeah. Can we get a shot of that, Chits? Can we get that boat in position here? It's an interesting problem.
So that's just
but the leeward side of the jib, Michael.
Yeah, just the top of the jib is what we're looking at. That will be one for them to look at later on, just getting caught up there. There we go. I'm not sure they can see that. That's definitely, so they're probably wondering why they haven't got any height. That'll be why. See a top batten of that jib, which is caught on something.
On a halyard by the looks of it.
Yeah, it's caught on the spinnaker halyard.
Caught on the spinnaker halyard.
Quite right. There we go. Sam's looking up now, and now he's seen it, and now he's cleared it.
He's got us on live stream, mate. No
Sam's
problem.
laying up the bow with his phone watching us. There you go.
There you go. They're off.
There we go. So winning group's good, but she didn't manage to cross Ilve, Vintech, ASCO, and Kitchenmaker. They are, at the moment, that is our leading group, but winning group in and amongst it for sure. This is going to be a tricky beat. They can see the women mark just up. Straight ahead of us now. It's probably about another 10 minutes sailing in this light airs, maybe a little less, maybe 7 minutes sailing to get up to that top mark.
And they're having
Sevi just having a polite discussion with the east sailboat. Oi, oi.
Yeah, that's just well
So
to the
the
top
guy's
of your
flying for Sevi, which is nice.
yeah, well to the top of your picture, which is on a drone shot right now. You might just better make up the winning group, who's now on starboard tack, but pointing. We're right behind them as well. You can see us now. We're on the same shot altogether. There's the windward mark just to the right of your picture. So winning group are virtually laying in this righty, and it's not impossible with Watson's Bay up there. Bucko, this righty could stay.
Yeah, I think he'll lay from here. Near enough anyway. And they've got good pressure, 2 strings, so they've gone. They've left the fleet, I think, here behind them.
Well, if they lay, but
If they lay,
take
yeah,
much, does it?
okay.
But let's wait and see. But to leeward of, so we're on winning group right now. Winning group is currently leading on the water with this big right-hander, which allows her to possibly lay this mark. To the left of her is Noakes, who's on more of a left-hander, slightly more pressure. And these are the 2 most left-hand boats. I've just seen Smeg a little bit harder left, not having the best day at the moment. Michael Cox has got a bit to do. And out to the right-hand group are all on starboard tack now as well. And that's Vintech, Kitchenmaker, ASCO, Ilve, Bingley and Royal Oak just behind them.
As we said though, Mark, game of find the wind just funneling nicely out of Watto Bay. The winning group, the first boat to get to that pretty good funnel. She's faster now through the water than Vintech and the guys out to the right.
And clean air, isn't it, for sure.
Beautiful clean air.
And that jib looks slightly cracked now. It looks like actually they're feeling a lift on the boat. They're just happy just to crack the sheets, trade it, get a bit more bow forward. The worst case is they can do a few short tacks at the end, but they've extended significantly. As we remember 3 or 4 minutes ago, they crossed behind all of the port tack boats, probably about 10-15 boat lengths, but the breeze went right to such extent they can virtually lay it. But probably the big issue there, Bucko, as you mentioned, is pressure. In the end, they've got more breeze.
Yep, find the wind. It's a game called Find the Wind, and they've succeeded.
And the most breeze we've had all day on the racetrack. Right now, this race is looking pretty solid. This is going to be just fine, and who knows, we might even get 2 races in. We're probably 2 wiring all the time. We're probably at a proper solid 6-7 knots of breeze right now.
Yeah, they're in the mode now where they're sort of saying to Sammy, lying on the foredeck, mate, you might have to come out here and join us, you know?
Yeah, do we, don't we? So, winning group are on camera now and not going to lay the mark. They've got a short amount of port tacking to do. In the meantime, the fleet out to the right of them will lay, and 2 short tacks cost quite a lot on this stuff, doesn't it? We're going to end up with the whole fleet pretty close together up this top mark. Winning group thinking about their tack now. You'll see them rolling into attack fairly soon. They're approaching ley line as they just cross ahead of Noakes. That's the red boat just in the background. You can see
They were 3 stringing, just soft 3 stringing, not too long ago there, Mark.
Yeah.
Just before on Noakes.
Here comes attack. Here's the winning group roll. We saw them do a big roll tack last time, and they had to work hard to pop that top batten. Yeah. That looks like it pops a lot better going from starboard to port.
No problem.
Our leader, Vintech.
Vintech leads. Amazing.
In the end, as we said, after all that, these right-hand boats have laid comfortably. Winning group had to tack. That's what cost them the lead. So the right-hand boats come back into it. Vintech goes round as our leader. Nice beat from these guys.
Well done. Second place, the Kitchenmaker.
And Kitchenmaker, and then ASCO in the end. The boat
Jive set on the Vintech. Wow.
It's a high tariff manoeuvre, but exactly probably the right thing to do.
They need to do it. But
got the Royal Oak right below them.
Good job though.
Issue on camera, you can see Vintech's got Royal Oak to lure to them, so they're going to have to hope they can roll across them. It's going to be tricky. Well, I don't know where Kitchenmaker's going to go. You can see there's a lured boat trying to sell that wind in the middle of that melee. Somehow or other, they both got across.
I think the
Royal Oak was being very generous there.
The winning group will also do the job set.
I think you're right.
Wow.
So
and they're prawning.
First around,
no, they're not prawning.
Vintech. Second, the Kitchenmaker. Third, ASCO. Fourth, winning group. 5th Ilve. So the winning group did really well there from the start, like, you know, obviously taking everyone's turn, doing the 2 tacks there, pushing hard out.
Yeah, they were the radical ones. They were committed to that pork tack start, even though they were at the wrong end of the line. But it kind of paid out, and they could have got round that first mark first if the shift had just stayed a little bit more right for them. But it's going to be
interesting to note too, Mark. Asko's the only one that's gone for a straight set here. Everyone else has gone for a jibe set.
Yep, that is quite right. Just off camera to your right-hand side is Asko that carried on a bearaway set on starboard with a red kite. Everybody else has rolled straight into jibe set, straight on to port jibe. Port jibe cleared the making jibe here, Bucko. That's the way you'd go, isn't it? You wanted to go back down that side of the race course?
Yeah, and from where the mark is, I think they will have no trouble. They're far enough off the land. They're at the right distance off the land for maximum pressure. Hard to see. Oh, Ilve trouble prawning. That's disappointing for Jono. They couldn't get the halyard up. But yeah, so Asko could be okay because there might be evolving leeward shore sea breeze. They're in the middle of the river now. Tide's coming in. Yeah, I still think that this edge pays. The eastern edge pays.
So our marine Pittwater goes round Panasonic Lumix and Smeg, not a position we often see them in, bringing up the tail of the fleet.
Smeg got an easy job. They can count their position from the back of the fleet on their fingers.
It's pretty easy. They're going to be maybe not absolutely DFL, but they're going to be...
What's DFL, Mark?
I think it means last by a bit, doesn't it? I think something like that.
DFL, yeah.
So everybody gets round, and Ilve in all sorts of trouble. Bit of a full Spinnaker mess up there. Jimmy, what's happened there?
I'm not sure whether
it didn't get hoisted, Jimmy, did it? Didn't get past the top of the jib. So
didn't get past the top of the jib. I'm just wondering whether when they've rigged the boat, whether it's gone inside the jib or something. Like, but
yeah, it could have been a rigging
standing
issue.
There, yeah, hands off the tiller, giving us a little wave. That's all you can probably do about it, isn't it? You can yell and scream as much as you like, but I think Jono's taken it in his stride and just put his hands up and had a laugh, which is good.
Here's Panasonic Lumix just here on our left-hand side. There's Katie Love and her team just to the left of us here, doing a nice little job today in a lighter stuff, a little slightly lighter weight crew, maybe not bad conditions for them. And ahead of them is our marine Pittwater, Simon Nern, back on the helm, back from his little trip around Europe. And there's the Asko boat we mentioned. Bucko, what are you thinking about Asko's lonely route out down the right-hand side?
He looks pretty good.
He's got pressure, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's got good wind. He's fully 2 strings, comfortably in the apparent wind range for the shoot. So
this bloke doesn't look like a yachty to me, chits.
Yeah, so where we have got Asko on camera still. She was the first boat in there, and only 3 boats did a bearaway set staying on starboard. There was John Winning actually followed, and then Smeg followed as well, mostly because Smeg's near the back of the fleet. But Asko did it by choice. They weren't forced to go that way.
But Vintech still leads, I think.
Yep. Yeah, I think you're right. We will see Vintech in a second, and when we get back to the bottom of the fleet, Vintech probably are going to cross. Oh, they are going to cross Asko. They're going to still stay first, but Asko hasn't lost out, I don't think, in the end. I'm not sure there's a big net difference between those two. We're already two-thirds of the way down this run. You'll see Vintech on camera now. In the far distance, there is the bottom mark. There's the committee boat, and you'll see the 2 orange marks, choice of downwind marks here. Vintech with a pretty nice lead. In light airs, nothing is safe, but at this point in time, she's probably a good 30 seconds clear of both Asko, who's on her right-hand side, and Kitchen Maker, who's on her left-hand side, and that is our top 3 right now.
And winning group probably 4th out of all that. They're not looking all that comfortable downhill, though, the winning group, for some reason. And have a look at this setup here. Jimmy, maybe just can we go to leeward a little?
Yeah, mate.
See these guys. Yeah.
Just don't want to put myself in a position where Kurt turns the wheel on me, Bucko, and
that would never
sea anchors don't work too well on this.
Never happen. Yeah, a little bit. The chute's not really made for this lower amount of apparent wind. A bit scratchy. and they've done a good job with it, so good.
Yeah, they've come down here nicely, haven't they? We're back to the whole minimum jives, minimum beat thing that we sometimes talk about. They've only jived twice so far, but that included a jive set.
So Asco indeed going to be third and Winning Group fourth.
So Vintech do their third jibe. That's a little bit of a slow one, bit of a dead patch of wind here. And you'll see them right now not looking that pretty against the rest of the fleet, but they'll have to wait till they get the breeze. They'll bring the bow
Kitchen
down.
Maker in the lead. Wow.
But yeah, unless this breeze, here we go, here goes the bow down. The Kitchen Maker, I think, are going to be leading whatever happens in this little bit of local stuff. But
yeah, so we see here, Mark, you know, just a spot where the wind lifted off the water surface. So probably not the right place to jibe, you know, jibe in the puff.
They didn't have too good of a jibe there, like
no.
really
Exactly.
unsettled. Bought the spinnaker round early.
Yep.
A little bit, I don't know whether they got a little bit of white line fever.
They've got some white line fever here. They're trying to squeeze down to the Kitchen Maker. No point. Just
so our leader is just to the left of your screen.
Keep.
There's Kitchen Maker, who crosses
Keep
ahead
sailing.
by 3 or 4 boat lengths. Vintech still a pretty competitive second. Good race for these guys so far. And the next boat is going to be Winning Group, and Asco are pretty close together. And Nopes are in the mix as well. Bingley not too far behind. Bingley, I know Scott Babbage on board today, so that is their JJ crew. That's going to be a pretty competitive group.
Yeah.
Very handy guy to have on.
Pretty handy. He'll be wishing the racing was taking place in Rose Bay, his home patch. But yeah, they'll have no lack of smarts on board their boat. Anyway, back at the bottom, Mark. Kitchen Maker themselves have just shown what happens when you jibe in light airs. You basically stop, don't you? It's not a good thing to do. Avoid all jibes if possible. Right now, Vintech look like they've put themselves into the lead. But choosing the bottom mark, minimising the jibing, that's what this is going to be all about.
It looks like, you know, you need to come into this mark from this lay line, not the other one.
You can see Kitchen Maker on screen right now, and just to the right of Kitchen Maker, you better see a buoy. That's the right-hand mark as you look downwind. There is a left-hand mark as well, which is, I'm not sure if Vintech will go for it because it's going to be too much of a double jibe manoeuvre. But here we have Kitchen Maker and Vintech bow to bow now, going at each other. They've got to choose a mark. They don't really want to jibe any more times than they have to. I think Vintech likes to look at the right-hand one here, Bucko.
Yeah, Kitchen Maker probably will jibe and just lean on them. So.
Jibe in her face, but Vintech might have a chance to go over the top of it.
No.
Asco coming in with speed from behind. You can just see her off the back of your screen. So the top three are right in front of you. Sees Kitchen Maker, Vintech and Asco. There's nothing between these three.
I was going to say to Asco, jibe drop to just avoid these two.
Well, and she gets herself out, doesn't she, into that stream, which seemed to work last time round.
Yep.
Yeah, but again, the Asco a bit early, have to run square, you know, so, and Vintech not a good drop either, so,
Get it down, Harry.
I think everybody's coming in too deep, but that was forced, really. Kitchen Maker had to go on Vintech's face. Vintech had no choice but to go where they went.
Around.
And you're right, Jimmy, you're quite right. So Asco is technically leading. They got round the mark first. They're heading to what we think is the favoured side, out towards Nielsen, so they're straight onto port.
Kitchen Maker second, Vintech third, and the Winning Group coming in here in fourth.
Winning Group with the nicest angle in here by far, so they're coming in at speed to the left-hand mark looking downwind, and they will just be able to do an easy lure drop, sheet on, and they might well go straight into second here.
No such thing as a lure drop.
What's that? No such thing, you're right.
No.
You know what I meant.
Yeah.
So there goes Winning Group.
And the guys out here to the right are under pressure better than the guys on the left. So.
Yeah, that's right, Andrew, for sure. So fourth round is Winning Group, but we think they might be in second already because of the benefit of the breeze straight ahead of them. And you'll see next round, here comes Bingley, followed by Noakes.
And Mark, you can't help but notice, you know, with Sevi in the middle, things happen pretty subtly, you know. Their execution there was very, very good, better than all the other guys that we saw. And, you know, have a look, for example, at Bingley here. The jib's still not on. The Winning Group went around the mark seamlessly, we would say.
Here's Sean Langman taking Noakes. That's the red hull boat there, just round that left-hand mark, looking downwind. She's in the middle of your screen right now. And off to the left of your screen, there's Rag and Famish taking that alternative downwind mark. And now here comes the rest of the peloton, pretty tightly bunched.
Quickie straight out of there.
Yeah, that is interesting. Tacking straight after the mark. I think just too much dirty air ahead, possibly.
Yeah.
And a ferry over the right-hand side. You can't quite see it on your screen right now, but to the right-hand side there is a large ferry, a whole bunch of spectator boats, and generally a lot of mess. Whereas a little less on this side.
Winning Group marching away, 2 strings, no problem, yeah? Just wow.
we'll have to see how that plays out. But you're right now things look quite healthy on that side.
The peloton looking unhealthy, one might say.
Yeah, let's look what happens here. Triple M is the top of your picture here. To leeward, there's Armory and Pittwater, and there's only room for one boat to get round the mark tightly. So I think Armory are going to have to give a little bit way, but I suspect they will slip round the outside quite happily. And he can just, Simon Nern can just sail a little low, sail a little fast, and he'll be just fine there, I think. And the other side, on the left-hand side of your picture, that's what you're looking at right now, is Royal Oak Hotel and Panasonic Lumix. Katie Love slipping around just inside Royal Oak Hotel. And still to come is several boats, one of which is called Smeg. What's happening there, Jimmy?
Smeg and Appliances Online, two boats that you wouldn't normally pick this far, you know, back in the fleet, but yeah, everyone has those days, Mark, you know that.
Yeah, in light stuff particularly, doesn't it? You make a couple of bad decisions or get a little bit of bad luck, and all of a sudden it's very hard to get out of the cheap seats.
Yeah, it's
we'll see. We've seen
one little move wrong, and yeah, on days like today, it just amplifies out to nothing. You know, you think you're looking brilliant. You one tack back, and it's game over. You know, you're in a different postcode to the leading pack, and you know, unfortunately, you never recover. There's not enough boat speed in days like today to drag them back, unfortunately.
Yep, that's right. But we've seen Cocker get out of bigger messes than that in the past, so who knows what's going to happen. Anyway, back up the beat. Beat number 2, almost certainly the last beat of this race. And we've got on the left-hand side is the Kitchen Maker and Vintech, the ones that went round that right-hand mark looking downwind, which pushes you off to the left-hand side. And they are on port tack. And the guys that went off round the other mark, heading out across the channel as soon as they could, well, that's ASCO and Winning Group. And they are currently looking a little advantaged, I'd say, down there. Bucko, you'd probably like to be down with ASCO, wouldn't you, right now?
Yeah, ASCO leads pretty easily. And I think Winning Group now in second.
ASCO's got a big yacht just about to come and roll them and potentially take their breeze, which won't be fun for them.
You wouldn't mind being where Kitchen Maker is, but they've chewed up a bit of time getting on starboard around the mark. So ASCO will lead. So
just to the left of, in the middle left of your picture, that's ASCO, and to the right is that gold-hulled monohull, which at the moment ASCO is showing she's got the legs on the monohull, so she's not going to get her air affected. ASCO actually just spurting forward right now. That looks like a little bit of three-wire action up ahead. We're right here with Kitchen Maker, who unfortunately has got a lot of wash, not much wind, and they're going to have to find a way to get that boat rolling. Stopping in the look at how the wash just stops the boat in this lack of breeze. All those motorboats we talked about a few minutes ago, well, that's the wash that is caused by those motorboats.
He hit the wash inside the jib, you know. You've got to break off a little.
Not ideal, is it?
You know.
So this gold hull boat, that is...
that's Guido Belgiorno Nettis's boat.
Yes, indeed. Built up the road at Mona Vale.
Yeah.
And Guido, for the viewers outside the country, prominent family of Italians who made a huge commercial success here in construction. Long-time Far 40 sailor.
Far 40 world champion.
Far 40 world champion, indeed.
And multiple Australian champion.
And a man of considerable ability, one might say. Lovely, electric, solar-powered, joystick-driven, you know...
McConaughey special.
Two-handed cruising boat.
Yeah, very nice.
It is beautiful.
Nice work indeed. So, back on the racetrack, our leader, as we said, ASCO, on camera now there's Winning Group, just putting a tack in. The Winning Group are the most right-hand boat, but ahead into leeward, but quite a long way ahead, is ASCO, currently leading. ASCO's the boat that headed off up the right-hand side of the beat first. She went around third round the bottom mark, but she was the first of the leaders to go off that way, followed by Winning Group. ASCO's made the most of that early advantage. She's tacked back onto starboard.
And probably a good day for Marcus Ashley Jones on the main sheet. You know, Doro's still I'm not sure what his lineup is for the Giltman, but Marcus, a world-class sailor and not the biggest guy, so light air, nice. I think I get deep in the mains a little bit, Jimmy.
Maybe a bit deep, but they're going quick, Bucko. So
no, I want it deeper. I want it deeper.
You want it deeper? Deeper, more twist, Bucko.
No, I want it a foot deeper. I
spent a week of hearing more twist from you. Deeper, more twist.
Deeper, more twist. Yeah. And if we just go to leeward of it, Jimmy, have a look at the bottom draft stripe of the jib. Yeah, that's deep. Wow.
Yeah, plenty of power there, isn't there?
That's right at the limit.
And you can see two of the three crew on the wires, just keeping the weight out of the hull, through the mast.
Very high on their wires too there.
Very high, light. It's a bit of a balancing act, isn't it? And there's no doubt this is quite a tiring way to go sailing because you're on tippy toes all the time. Balance is critical.
Well, the critical part for these is, you want to get weight out of the boat, so you want to get crew out of the boat. But the way that they can do that, they got like, if you have a look on the front of James Doran there, just in front of his hands, he's got like an adjuster, a rope adjuster. They can pull himself up and down. There you go,
yeah.
Dora just lowering himself down on that, and they can lower themselves down and almost be dead level with the wings, and then raise themselves up to be the height where they are at the moment. Ideally, they're standing up as high as they can at the moment, trying to encourage. Trying to encourage. They don't have to encourage him. I'm sure Harry wants to be out there.
Oh
no! And Marcus has just fallen off.
That's called lifting himself off the hook.
And
great job.
Caught on camera, of course. Here we are, the camera boat as ever in the right place at the right time. Nice work, James.
Spectacular.
Nice work by Chits. Made sure we didn't miss that one. So that's one.
That's in Marcus's highlights reel, mate.
One to tell the grandchildren all about.
Marcus's highlight reel.
That.
I did put the commentator's curse on the ASCO. There you go. It continues.
So ASCO is on starboard after that little kind of little error on board. Anyway, they're still leading, but not by a huge amount. Their mark is just up to your right-hand side. You can probably just see the buoy there. So they've got a little bit of port tacking to do. This is kind of where Winning Group was first time up, when we thought she was leading. In the end, the boats on the right-hand side got lifted and beat her to the mark. The same could happen again. There is a bit of a pattern developing here, but it's about the same amount of breeze. You can see they're nearly 2 wiring, or 1.5 wiring basically. And
I mean, Mark, we say in this sort of wind that we want to be, admittedly we can't go there at this time, but as close to that yellow blinker to the starboard of us here now.
Yeah.
100 metres to the right is the prime real estate.
Right-hand side, approach on the right-hand side. Yeah. But the good news is that this time around, they've certainly got a little bit more wind. When I'm looking back towards the Winning Group, there's Winning Group now. She's got a little bit less breeze. She's not bow up, so I think ASCO have got, even with a slow tack, have got a decent chance of tacking and crossing.
Well, here's that prediction. 2 tacks for the ASCO, no tacks for the Winning Group. They're dead even, I would say. Yeah?
I would say they're going to be...
I think we've got a race on our hands.
I think it's going to be, you're absolutely right. We get to this mark, which is not far away. It's going to be super, super close. So
this looks terminal over here.
We're just looking at the Winning Group coming through here at the moment.
And he's got hard right, and he's going, I don't want to tack, It's a big tacking angle.
Right in front of us is ASCO, who's just tacking now off camera, but just to let you guys know, she hopes she's on port lay line. But with this shift she's on, she's barely laying. And with Winning Group, and you're about to see ASCO coming into your picture in a second. You'll see, here we are there, the 2 boats. There is ASCO approaching Winning. Winning Group right now is across, but not by much. Here's the mark, super close. There's not much in this. If Winning Group lay it, Bucko, you'd have to give them the lead, but will they lay it?
Yeah, they're laying. And right-handed wind with pressure coming to them, so
just the same as the last beat, the boat on the right-hand side, even though, which in this time is Winning Group, it's paid out to be on the right, even though it looks good on the left.
And he's just not hard. No, he's not far enough right, I don't think, to lay.
Yeah, we might have to reverse that decision. ASCO,
wow.
She's not clear.
ASCO's going behind him.
She's got a duck, isn't she? She's not clear across. Is she going to be punchy and trying to lee bow?
No.
I think she is.
No, well.
Yeah, she's lee bowing.
He decided. And Winning Group sailing not pinned in there. Bow at the mark, pretty clever stuff. ASCO won't get there from there.
Super tight. It was really worth ASCO doing it. ASCO tried to call Winning Group to sail up and get away from them.
Yep. Winning Group round the bow. How about that?
The Winning Group will make it. That's a great ley line.
Some professional yachting there, mate.
Yeah, I think ASCO did the right thing. I think the lee bow was worth a shot.
Yeah, probably.
In the end, it didn't work, but they had enough space to actually get themselves around a second. Winning Group.
The other thing, Mark, I think this is a 3-lapper.
Yep.
That's the last signal I threw on the boat anyway.
Yep. Well, stand to be very correct. I didn't actually look at it, so you're probably right. In which case, you think that means just 1 race today? It is 4 o'clock local time here in Sydney. I'm not sure we'll get a second race in.
Yeah, no, they probably can't start another.
So top mark in front of you, as you will have seen. Winning Group clear round first, jibe set. Secondly, ASCO, nothing between those two, another jibe set. Vintech, these guys won't go away, will they? They were right at the front for the first lap. Second, they went downwind. They were very competitive, leading at one point. And here they are in a very close third position. Nice job from the Vintech team. And Kitchen Maker also very competitive all day in amongst the leading group. And then there's a little bit of a gap before we get back to Bing Lee. And then an even bigger gap when we get back to, looks like Triple M and Yandu, our Marine Pittwater.
And the one who lost out big
And
on this
still
one's been Noakes on this World Cup. Mark, they've sort of dropped right off. They were sort of just hanging on to this lead group. They were in front of Bing Lee last time. They've dropped quite off.
Yeah, they've gone a little bit off piste. They've gone hard left on a beat where pretty much the right has been the place to be. So
It's a tricky right though, Mark, isn't it? There's a bit of no wind zone.
It's tricky.
You know,
I know it's not straightforward, but broadly speaking, the right ends up being better than left, doesn't it? You just got to get not too tempted by what looks like more pressure on the left, because that right-hander from Watson's Bay keeps on being the deciding factor at the end of the beat.
Yeah, if we looked at what we just saw, the pressure between the Mark and Nielsen Park, broadly speaking, across that axis is the strongest wind through the Nielsen Park blinker, as we call it, on the right-hand ley line.
So there is the Kitchen Maker just on camera right now, and just to in front of her to the left, we'll see that in a second, is the leading three. There's really not much between this group, and just behind these four is Bing Lee, who are only 5 or 6 boat lengths behind. So we've got a pretty interesting race here. We've got our leader winning group very closely followed by ASCO, as you can see on the screen on the zone on the drone right now, and the boat with the white kite just behind that's Vintech. And then the next one back is Kitchen Maker, and then it's Bing Lee. This is our top 5, and there's nothing more than a bad jibe between all 5 of them.
They're all lifting up here, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy, it's tricky, isn't it? You know, it's not your conventional thing where you want to sail the header. You've got to stay in the wind, and that means going slightly the wrong way for the angle, in fact.
Yeah.
And the drone shot shows you what's going on, but it almost makes it look as if there's a bigger gap between these boats. But Winning Group and ASCO, there's really nothing between them. And we're right alongside them on the camera cat. There we go, there's the angle we're seeing. You can see these boats are close. There's nothing between them. James Doran's team on ASCO recovered from that little Marcus Ashley-Jones slip upwind, and they're right on the Winning Group's tail.
And I don't think Marcus fallen off is that, that enough to, have allowed Winning Group into the lead. The Winning Group have been sailing well.
Oh, I think you're right, but it's little slip-ups like that. It's funny how they sort of slightly affect the mojo on board. You have a laugh, of course you have to, because nobody means to do that. It's just a bit of bad luck.
No, it's easy to do.
It's easily done.
I was impressed though, Mark. They didn't say a word. They just
quite right.
They just sort of said, "Get back on, mate, please."
I bet you they did say something. It would have been super quiet. They would have been thinking the mics could have picked up. And
look at the body language now. Full intensity from Marcus in the middle of the boat. Look, trying to sight the right jibe point, and the other 2 crewmen on their tippy toes. Full focus. Winning Group's about to roll into a jibe. I think they'll simo with them, simultaneous jibe, or they'll let him go.
Let him go, because he's into a good header. He's got wind and he's got a header.
And they're thinking
he'd be thinking going all the way to the ley line, Mark.
Yeah,
I would think.
That's the question though. How do you pick a ley line from here?
So Winning's got a few.
It's a big angle, mate. It's a 100-degree jibe.
So the windward mark is just off the right-hand side of your picture. You can see the Winning Group on the right, and just to leeward and to the left as you look on the drone, that is the bottom mark. And ASCO are carrying on, as you can see, still on port. They don't think they've found that ley line yet. Once they jibe, they've probably got about another 3 to 4 minutes sailing in this light airs to actually get to the bottom mark. But trying to pick that ley line, super important, because as we've seen every single time a boat's jibe, they slow down and sometimes they stop, and you've always got a potential for a little bit of fishing.
The Winning Group's like on a nice little let down here.
Let's go look at the chute on this boat. It's a different mould to the one we looked at before. Nice trim though.
I mean, Winning Group will be happy tactically. Now we'll just go back to sales in 1 second, Bucko. They're almost laying this, aren't they, Bucko? They're almost
very
close.
At it. Very
in the
close.
meantime, ASCO still hasn't jibed. ASCO carries on port jibe, so a big separation. And you'd think if you're on Winning Group, you're like, well, happy days. We're pointing at the mark on starboard.
Yep.
Who knows what's going to happen? But you wouldn't want to be on port right now if you were them.
Well, and they've also got a slightly different VMG mode, a little deeper, a little bit less riding moment in use.
And the other issue that Asko's got off camera right now, but well to our left-hand side looking downwind, is she's on a header. Very hard to jibe, of course, when you're on a header, and that's what's happening.
Got to get to the mark. These guys very close to the lay, but they probably do a completed jibe into the port hand mark, looking at it from this side.
Just looking down, look at that drone shot there, Bucko. Any comments on the spinnaker? You've got a little chance to see what's happening there.
As we observed, they're not really designed to go this low in the wind range, so they're down to apparent wind here of about 3 knots. And you see that the head twist is not quite enough. So the head is actually a little bit stalled. And, you know, if you made an optimum sub 4 knot apparent wind spinnaker, it would have more twist.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe a little smaller head angle, etc.
So in the meantime, Asko has finally jibed, looking like they've lost out quite a lot there. In the end, they went a header on the previous jibe, and they just didn't want to jibe. And of course, when they do jibe back, they're right into a big lift. So big gain for Winning Group ahead of you. She's our leader on the race course. She jibed at what turned out to be the right point. But Bucko, a bit of luck involved in this, or do you reckon they read that well?
Well, I think they read it well. You know, give them credit. It's tricky, and they just decided that there was more wind in the middle of the harbour, I think, you know.
Well, it worked, didn't it? Clarity, clear thinking,
they
decisiveness.
always, I mean, give them credit. They're prepared to back their judgment, you know, and we've seen them make errors.
Shortened course, getting blown here, so it's through the gates.
2-lapper. Job's done.
So we're sailing towards what is now going to be the finish. That's happy days for the Winning Group. So we've got the blue flag up as well, have we, which makes it a finish. So I'm pretty sure this is the finish coming up now.
Yeah, this is the finish, Mark. They go in through the gate.
And that's it.
And that's it.
And then we'll have to see whether they're going to run a second race, a short second race or not.
So there's
we'll let you know.
There's no finish mark as such. They finish between, you know, they've got the 2 bottom gates.
No, there's a finish mark.
There's no finish mark when they shorten the course.
Final
anyway,
jibe.
a win to the Winning Group.
We'll get on to the technical stuff in a second. Let's just watch the Winning Group. You can see they jibe, and as happens in light airs, they have to put the bow up a horrible amount of degrees to get the thing rolling. And here is the Winning Group about to cross the line. We should get a hooter.
Yep.
If they don't get a hooter, there they do. They would have just gone round that mark, which is all the conservative solution. But nice job from the Winning Group. Sailed the last run particularly well. Had a bit of pressure from the Asko guys, but stuck to what they wanted to do. And it played out nicely indeed. So first place in race 1 of the Australian Championship is the Winning Group, skippered by John Winning Jr. In the middle, Sevi Jarvin. On the front, Sam Newton. And that's a nice bit of work by those guys.
Big Sammy must be one of the largest units to be in the bow of one of these in some time.
He will be indeed. Well, they're probably going to try and ask the race committee, are we going to race again? They'll be thinking about, do we go home, what do we do? Anyway, in the meantime, on screen, here comes Asko about to cross the line.
We've just been told a 2-lapper coming up. Good luck with that, race committee.
Yeah, that's going to...
2-lap, they could shorten to 1.
Indeed.
Asko coming across the line now in second.
There we go, in second place.
So Winning Group, our winner. Asko second. Going to be a tight one for third here, I think, between Bing Lee, who looks like they got a little bit of pressure, and you got Kitchen Maker and Vintech, who have...
And they're a long way, and Jimmy, they're a long way away, aren't they? Big gap between the fleet. I mean, those front two, in the end, Asko lost out on that last jibe, as happens in light air sometimes. But in the end, a decent boat race between those two. But everybody else, we were saying before, the front 4 or 5 were close, but wow, they separated.
Yeah. It's amazing, just that one little jibe off, and then Vintech sort of, they started lifting up behind the camera cab when we were following Asko there just before we took off after the...
But I mean,
Jimmy,
I think the makings of all that, though, these guys go back 30 seconds in the beat by sailing technically not well enough. They're sailing inside their jibs, etc. And give credit to the first and second boats. They look pretty good. They middle of the jib stuff and not worrying about squeezing, just getting it rolling, getting the foils working.
So on camera here is Vintech, who are looking like they're going to end up in 4th. Just ahead of them is Kitchen Maker. But it's going to be quite close between Vintech and Bing Lee. Bing Lee just to the right-hand side, just off your camera right now.
That's
out of the picture, sorry, right now. We'll see that soon.
Pick up the Kitchen Kitchenmaker.
Kitchenmaker coming to cross the line. So just put one jibe in to cross the line. She will be in third position. And Asco second, as we said. Crew on their usual lineup for them. James Doran and Harry Bethwaite. And with Marcus Ashley-Jones filling in the middle position. That's the second place boat. And here goes Kitchenmaker just about across in third.
That's their normal crew as well, so well done to them. The Kitchenmaker taking out third in this race.
It's Jordan Girdis and Lachlan Doyle and Tom Quigley. Nice work by the Kitchenmaker.
This is going to be
And here we go.
closer than what we think, but I think the Vintech boys will just get this.
Yeah, Vintech are going to finish just ahead of Bing Lee. I think they're going to get, as you said, that fourth position. Fourth position for Vintech. That's Kirk Mitchell, Dan Barnett and Tim Westwood on Vintech, just crossing the line now. And soon after will be Bing Lee with the JJ Gilton lineup that Mika has pulled together. Peter Harris and Scott Babbage. I think that's the first time these three Bucko have sailed together with this campaign.
Yeah.
I think that's right. They probably have sailed together on another boat on another year, but that's not a bad first race for them in Gliders.
No, not too bad.
A decent odds you get on Bing Lee for JJ wouldn't be a crazy bet.
Yeah, but I mean, as we discussed in the lead up, this is more typical of the JJ type weather. You know, low mid range, big sail breeze.
Look who's come through the fleet. If we've got the camera looking back up the field, Smeg has actually picked up probably 5 or 6 boats to limit the damage
On the scorecard.
on their overall scorecard.
Yeah, that's right.
I think they'd still be thinking, oh, that was a nice discard.
Yeah, not the way you want to start a title though, Bucko. You don't want to start with a discard, do you?
Never did, mate, never.
So about to cross the line now with the red and blue spinnaker. That's Yandus, John Winning, and his guys. That's
What are you doing?
A yard.
an extra little jibe just there. I think he's just trying to. Maybe
No, he's got to go up and around that mark and back in.
No, he doesn't. The pin's in, James.
Bucko, it's a shortened course, so it finishes at the next mark of the course is what happens with a shortened course.
They don't lay a line in this.
They don't lay a line. So Woody,
under
no
these-
finish.
Under these instructions. Didn't
and-
read the
and
instructions.
no gun.
No gun, no
There you
sign.
go.
There you go.
There you go.
Slight little technical issue.
Yeah, didn't read the instructions. Okay, not at
So
all.
I think you'll find that thing is the
Start line.
start mark
Yeah,
is
yeah.
in for the...
Unshortened course, shall we say?
why don't you ask the starter over there, Mr. Cameron?
No, we won't do that. That
We'll let
would breach of protocol.
Mr. Winning sort that out himself.
Yes.
So that's John Winning sailing today with Grant Rollerson in the middle of the boat.
That's the regular now.
He's regular, is he? Oh,
Yep.
Roller, good work. And Mike Kennedy in the front. And next to finish is looking like it's going to be the boat on screen right now, which is Noakes. And Smeg, as you said, has done a bit of a comeback job. Not impossible. Where's the bias? No, not. Smeg is not going to get to this. Noakes is probably still going to make it, but it will be. And Smeg are going to jibe as well.
Snake's
So
going to make the same mistake
well,
here as...
there you go. It looks like they're making a bit of an effort to go bow up here, but are they making enough of an effort? I'd say not. No, they're
No.
not.
They
There
got
you go.
scared off by the Vintech.
Jimmy, you're going to have to become the rules advisor to these boats, and obviously to us, clearly, but to the rest of the boats as well. Give them a refresher on what happens on a shortened course. So that's a
Well,
non-finish from Noakes.
That rule hasn't changed since we were kids, Mark, so
Yep.
yeah, can't put brains in statues, but oh, hello. Got a little boat coming out from Circular Quay.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a very large liner just gone around Bradley's head from the Sydney Harbour.
Applied either.
direction.
Look at that. They've gone back around. They've just going to beat Smeg.
It's all a bit chaotic, isn't it? Here we go. So there's a bunch of boats that didn't know how to finish properly, and as described, it's not actually on camera right now, but Vintech dropped their spinnaker and sailed back around to finish the right side of the mark.
Well, you went through the gate, didn't you?
Eventually.
You got to go through the gate. It's the next course to the mark. Just having a little discussion with the Vintech. No, not necessarily.
Well, that's an interesting rule one, isn't it? If the committee
Just
below...
gotta go forward here. I've got Mr. Langman realising the error of his ways.
Yep, we have got a
On
lot
the
going on.
Noakes.
So the Noakes are going to try
Going
and...
to do the same thing as everyone else that's done it wrong. So Triple M and the Royal Oak are going to be our next two boats to finish.
To finish correctly.
Correctly.
There we go.
It's my new air horns I've ordered for my boat. So Triple M next. Who's keeping track of finishes here and where are we up to?
Well, it's a little hard to know who has and who hasn't finished legally. These two definitely have finished legally. Triple M and Royal Oak. Smeg finished legally before that as well. The guys who made a big comeback. That's for certain. And Ilvi, I think, are at least a lap behind, aren't they? They obviously had some technical problem at the top of the mark. They were capsized for about half an hour, sorting out some kind of a Halyard drama. So they will be retirees from this race, for sure.
Mediums.
You've got a big cruise ship in the background of the picture at the moment going out.
Just at the top of the screen, you'll get an idea about the size of that liner. That's a pretty big one.
Carnival Spirit.
And we have, just to finish this race, we still have a couple of boats yet to finish. Armoring Pittwater, we're still waiting for them. Dalzotto, we're still waiting for them. They're up at the top of the course.
Rags there, Mark. Do they look like they're going to undo themselves? Oaks and Rag, just like over behind you.
Yeah, it looks like they're both now tacking up to that bottom mark to get to the other side, the left-hand side, as we look at it right now. Yeah, John Winning in Yandu has either decided not to bother or didn't realise what he'd done. But we've also got Panasonic Lumix with the Spinnaker up. It's Katie Love's boat. They're about to pass the wrong side of the buoy as well. So we've got another boat that's going to have to unravel itself. That's the boat off the right-hand side of your picture right now. So they will also not get the noise. That noise was for Noakes, not for Lumix. Lumix could have easily thought that was their gun.
Lumix.
That might be what happened with Vintech.
Yeah,
where Vintech
Lumix
thought they got a gun, but actually the gun was for somebody else.
Correct.
Which is certainly what the race committee will declare, were it to go to some kind of a protest, I'm sure. So Lumix have to drop their Spinnaker. This is a little bit of an ugly end of a race, but there's yacht racing for you. This stuff happens. It's very light airs, and everyone's slightly forgotten that this was a 3-lap race, not a 2, and therefore it was shortened, and therefore you have to make sure you use the downwind marks to pass through the downwind marks.
Yeah, correct.
So you can see Rag & Famish just in front of us right now. There's on the left-hand side of your shot. Lumix tacking back up to the mark in the meantime, coming down and looking like coming down about in the right zone. Planters online, and we've got Armory Pittwater. And I think that's Quality Marine Clothing just to the left, isn't it? And then way up the race course is Dalzotto. She's going to be the last boat to finish. Is there any time limit on this, Jimmy, on these short races or not?
I seem to remember there was, I had a look, maybe 20 minutes, but don't hold me to that.
We could be up against that 20 minutes for Dalzotto. She looks like a solid 10 minutes away, maybe longer. And we know the race committee is keen to get a second race away. There's a confidence this breeze will hold, maybe firm, and they want to get a short 2-lapper in. Certainly that's the plan at the moment. They can always change that plan, but we're still finishing race 1. All the rest of the skiffs have finished and are sitting around waiting for the completion of this race, and then they'll get straight into race number 2. Direction, Bucko, about the same. Any reason, any need to change the geometry of the race course, or can they just roll straight into this?
No, it's weird. It's weird. As we sit here at the line, the wind here now, north-northeast, not east-northeast. So 40 degrees difference here to what it was the first race. If you look at, say, the Yandu, he's laying up bow at the mark on this edge of the course. So a bit of a challenge. You know, the sea breeze has stopped being a sea breeze, I think, a bit, and we've got warm-ish northerly air on this edge. Hard to figure out what to do for the committee. Like, probably not enough time to go and reset everything. They do have time, I suppose, but
you'd have to wait for the big wind block. You'd have to wait for the big wind block to get out of the way, wouldn't you, Bucko? And then that'd give them enough time to run around the harbour and adjust
Well,
a few
the
things. Even though
Dalzotto,
Dougie Cameron's over at the start boat.
the Dalzotto is 10 minutes away upwind. With,
Yeah, so just on camera right now, you've got Armoring Pittwater and Panasonic Luminance. And if you look in the far distance, the boat that Bucker's talking about, that little black dot, that's Dalzotto.
Yeah.
Solid 10 minutes, isn't she, away? She could even be longer, but she's away to go. And she's also got that very large white liner you've seen just appearing on your screen right now, who's going to come and suck what little air there is right off her sails.
So what do you think? Like, how long after that ship goes through, Bucko, you reckon we'll get back to some sort of relatively normal breeze?
Stable air? Wow. That's
Tomorrow?
That's, yeah, possibly tomorrow, exactly. That's a big question, mate. Good pressure up at the heads, though, so maybe it's just going to stay where it is, sort of east-northeast. You can see the Dalzotto's in pretty much normal northeast direction where they are, and about probably 6 knots of wind. They will get here. They're coming, but...
Woody finally finishing.
Yeah, in no rush. Do you think he's finishing intentionally, or is this...
I don't think he's doing it intentionally, but he's going to get a hooter here, and he's not going to know what it's for.
It just happens to be the way that he's choosing to cruise around Sydney Harbour waiting for race 2. So let's see, but will they blow? Will they give him a hooter? They did.
They did. There you go.
You're right. Now he's looking around. What happened there?
He'd be like, Burger, the 5-minute cut's gone. Come on.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
A lesson learnt.
If in doubt, read the instructions. We always say that.
Well, anyone who's... you were just saying before, Jimmy, that the Kiwis are watching this for sure. Well, they've had a chance to know what happens if we have the same situation.
Time limit reached. But yeah, you're right, Mark. I think, the Kiwis,
Just
they'll
learn
know that
something.
rule.
Yeah, as have all these guys as well. But it's on camera, the lessons learnt for everyone. And yeah, as Bucko just said, the AP has just gone up on the committee boat. So that's that race finished and over. And we should get straight into the start of the next race. I'm not sure there's a lot of advantage by waiting here, is there? I would have thought we'd just get straight into it.
They're just talking with
And what do you reckon the chance of this actually happening here, Jimmy, this race?
I think after the ship going through, and I don't think we're going to have much luck. Like it is, what now, 4:30. We've got nav lights on this, but the skiffs don't, brother, so...
It's late in the day, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's late in the day. I'd say it's, what is it? It's a 50-50 call whether we're going to get race 2 in, but we are on station. We are holding for race 2. They're not under no obligation to wait for Dalzotto to get down here. It would be the polite thing to do, but there's no requirement to do so. I think if they feel there is enough breeze to get a quick race in, they'll go for it. Can they do a one-lap race here, guys? I think they can.
I guess they can do anything they want to do, right,
Yeah,
Mark?
so we could do a signal a 2-lap race, shortened to 1. It could just be an up and a down to finish.
Anyway, the mark boats come back to report in about the wind at the Windward Mark. So it looks as if there's enough wind to do a race, but tide flooding, the beat could get pretty long.
Yeah, that's right. And up the course, the boat we've talked about, Dalzotto, is a good indicator of what's happening halfway up the race course, and the answer is not much. She's
On the
very
left
light.
edge, not much. Same as before. Only wind on the right edge here, or the
Yeah.
best wind, should we say, on the right edge.
Yeah, she's just making not much headway at all. Very slow progress. Indeed, and it's looking less and less likely that race 2 will happen, but we'll bring you the facts and the news as it develops. Still under AP. Race committee having a discussion about whether this is going to happen or whether we abandon. It is 4:30 local time here in Sydney. We're normally off the water by 4 o'clock, but it's a 2-race day. It's an unusual day. It's light airs. As ever, the race committee always want to get these races done if they can. Who knows what will happen next weekend? Could be blown off by too much wind or not enough wind. So if you can get a race in, the usual rule is just get it started if possible. Anyway, we're going to motor up here and have a chat with the race committee if we can. Get the view from the horse's mouth.
I think we're
So
about
that's
to...
our PRO in the rubber duck just right in front of us. Dougie's the PRO, runs around, sets the courses, juggles it all around. He's got all his crew there on the Ripple side, which is a bigger boat
It's a
there.
nice style, isn't it? Just
Yeah.
get out on the water and see what's really happening. Great
Yeah.
idea. That looked like the signal of a man who's about to abandon it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
return to bar.
Return to bar. The flag signal's up, sir.
Sailors still haven't been told that yet, but
No,
they will find out soon.
They've got to wait for the flags on the back of the boat here, Mark. As you know, like, that's their control. They're scheduled for 2 races. They've got to wait for them, right? That's just trying to back the boat up a little bit so we can get those flags in play. But that red and white one is what we're under at the moment, which is a postponement. Isn't the no more racing for the day? There's the flag that they're waiting on, which is the A flag.
Now there was talk about another of the little crew switches, wasn't it? Like there was last weekend, bringing on a couple of sailors who haven't sailed on skiffs before and let them have a sail home. I'm not sure if they'll still do it today, but the skiffs have got to sail home anyway. Skiffs don't get towed. There's enough wind to sail home. Yep. So we might see that happening, which would be great. It's an initiative that the club's got itself into now. Try and get more young sailors to have a go at sailing a skiff. These are awesome boats. Even in light airs, they're still an awesome bit of kit to spend time on, and it's a good way to introduce yourself to high-level sailing. I think all the sailors who jump on these boats, they're pretty skilled junior sailors themselves, but there's nothing quite like being on the real thing.
No, and the smile on the kids' faces last week, Mark, that jumped on after the race was amazing. Like, watching them walk back into the clubhouse afterwards was amazing.
The winning group towing home, Jimmy.
Well, they're the only one with a tender boat out here, I believe.
Coach? Did we say coach? No.
Tender.
Tender.
No coach. So you'll just see on the back of the Ripple side here, they're just plugging up 2 flags, N over A. No more racing today, return to bar.
Mark, your piloting would tell you there we go.
There you go, straight away on that. Don't have to wait around.
N over X. Go home, you guys.
4 guns. That's unusual, but there we go. So that is the end of racing for today, and I think if the crews get a chance, they'll do the little switchy of get the young nippers on board. But that's just going to have to decide if they've got enough wind to actually make that be feasible. But there's the first Australian Championship day over. We've got 1 race in, not 2, so they've got a bit more work to do. To get enough races in, but I don't think we can do a 3-race day, can we? That would be a bit radical, so it may well be that there's going to be 1 less race in total, and then we'll have to have a look at what the discard situation is. Today, Bucko, first, your thoughts, any surprises? What did you observe today?
Well, it's interesting, the winning group being struggling in strong wind, but today, technically, I thought they were very good. So, that tells you that their route to a good JJ is practice in strong wind, because they certainly got the technical skill in the light air, and they I thought sailed that race very, very well today. The other guys, obviously in the absence of the Finport, they might have been a contender today. The Smeg boys generally didn't ever like light air, so
situation normal there.
Situation a bit normal. Obviously the Kitchen Maker was quite good, but then fell away, but technically I thought in the second half of the race. And the ASCO has been quite consistent across the wind range, so in their favour, and that's how they won the New South Wales Championship, and they also read the sailing instructions.
And
yeah, he is.
And I think, in truth, if ASCO had maybe just picked a slightly better last jibe, then it was really a 2-boat race right to the end. Just got the last jibe wrong. It's easy to forget that, but it's amazing. 1 little error, and it all changes.
Yeah, a little bit more wind, jibe in the puff rather than in the lull.
Yeah.
The difference is not insignificant. But I think we see here, Mark, also just the sea breeze is okay down at Bradley's Head, and I think if we were, for example, to try and sail towards the Opera House, the heat of the city has driven the sea breeze back.
Yeah.
So
we're caught in between 2 events.
Went out too, has driven it back.
And the ship didn't help either. No.
The ship didn't. Absolutely right. Yeah. So we're just looking at the spectator boat, and to the left of it you'll see that little grey rib. There's our race officer we talked about, and he's just going to do what we talked about last weekend earlier on, getting a couple of nippers, a couple of keen young sailors from other clubs who are going to get a chance just to jump on board a skiff for
Port Hacking, I think
home.
Yeah, Port Hacking. But Jimmy, we shouldn't go without mentioning your dad, who's also on the committee boat, on the ferry, spectator ferry.
Yeah, Dad's in for a late night. He's going off to the cricket with James Doran.
Nice. Tonight?
So yeah, it was a bit of a surprise. I was just sitting there on the camera cat getting it ready before the start today, Mark, and this, you know, the Inner Harbour ferry pulls up to the wharf and there's a bloke sitting on the back waving. I didn't know he was coming over, so it was a really nice surprise to see Dad come over for the day. You know, Dad sailed these back, what, 70s, early 70s?
Flora Margarine, my son,
Flora,
it was.
It was great to see him come over for the day, and he came over with steamer, so you know it was sort of a bit of a surprise, and off to the cricket. So I'm sure he won't be having too many beers on there today. He'll be saving himself for the cricket, which will be great.
I'll need plenty of space for all those cold beverages tonight. So here on the Kitchen Maker, you see one crewman gets off and two crewmen get on, which is probably about a fair swap on weight, and that means both the two young guys get a chance to sail, and there's enough space on board.
And the crewman that gets off has an early mark, and he's happy as well.
Yeah.
Dougie's taking him up to go pick up the top mark, so he thought he was going home early. Bad luck.
He thought he was going onto the Spectator ferry for a cold drink, I think, but that all came to an end. But anyway, these guys are going to get every... they've unfortunately starting in a very light patch with lots of big waves. Anyway, that won't last long. Trapeze harness is on, turn around, spinnaker up, and see how big the smiles are. It's quite crowded with 4 on board here, isn't it? Do you remember 2 years ago, SeaTech turned up from New Zealand, talking about New Zealand, Alex Veiling, and he was, I think, the first crew in JJ history to sail 4 up.
Not in history, mate.
Oh, come on, correct me.
In
tell
modern
me.
history.
Not in Bucko history. Bucko, take us back to
we're now going back to the last
days.
century, okay? So the last new four-hander that was built was sponsored by Cool, who was a brand of menthol cigarettes, and the captain of the ship was Michael Chapman.
And they were 4 up, were they?
Yeah, but they couldn't. They were 4 skinny little blokes, but they couldn't get it to work too well. They were okay, not great. The last four-handed winner of the JJ Giltinan was Thomas Cameron, Hugh Trahan, Bomber Trahan, or Jimmy, help me here. Anyway, 1970 Giltinan.
1970, so it's a big gap between those two events.
And second place in that regatta was Willie B with Steamer Stanley and Rod Samanik, indeed.
Willie B.
Wow, there we go.
And I watched those races. There you go. That's how young I am.
I wasn't even a thought.
There you go.
So that was then, and then Alex Veiling's a couple of years ago gave it a go. And here we are on the Kitchen Maker, 4 up again, trying to find the angle to get out of the wire. There's nothing nicer, is there, in a light airs day in a skiff when you finally get out on the wire and stretch your legs. And
Jordan and Tom are doing a good job. They're gone out on the leeward wing to get the young boys out. There's not much breeze here, but you think they'd have a bit more of a smile. Maybe he's going, oh, this isn't too hard.
Yeah, so what's all the
fuss? No, he's going, my God, this is a big bit of kit, is what he's saying.
Yeah.
And the other young bloke hasn't had much time on the trapeze wire, Jimmy. So
I don't think either of them have, mate.
They're a bit like
put a trap belt on.
I'm holding onto the wire just in case, you know.
Yeah.
Well, they got some pace, a little bit of water bubbling off the bottom of the rudder there. The whole thing's a bit loaded up. There we go, staying about the right angle. These guys aren't sitting inside the jib buckle, are they? You'd be pleased with their performance.
Yeah, press, mate. Press on it.
Yeah, that's right. So we're getting a nice little shot from the drone on this, and on board the camera cat. Director Michael Chittenden also grabs the still camera and goes back to his day job. He'll show us a couple of good shots of that. I think in the next few days, check on the Sailing Press, you'll be able to see his shots. He always manages to somehow, they don't ask me how he does it, direct what we're doing here and still manage to get still photographs.
Multitasking, it's called.
Multitasking, and usually the best shots you're going to find out on the water.
Just another thing the Kiwis beat us
at. Damn them. And blast them. Anyway, thank you for joining us today. I think we're going to wrap up this transmission in the next couple of minutes. Bucko, you talked about what you like the look of today and this light stuff, and about Winning Group in particular. Jimmy, any last thoughts from you? What have you enjoyed and what have you noticed from today particularly?
I think just seeing a lot of the guys working on their down speed, like low air sort of technique has been really good. The Winning Group, well, that was pretty amazing to watch. The people obviously not knowing the rules on a shortened course. That's another one, brother. But
that's what got you most heated today. But I know you're right, quite right. The rule's the rule. There's no room for negotiation.
Yeah, so look, you know, the guys that I thought would be up there were up there, and you know, I think as we said, coming close to these JJs, you know, the cream is starting to rise, and you know, the winning group, short amount of time, as you said, you know, like that speed time in the boat early and things like that. Got a brilliant crew there to work with, but yeah, no, I think those guys are definitely going to, yeah, they've managed to achieve a lot quickly, so you know, it's. So, yeah, it's definitely, yeah, it's definitely a different day for us out here, that's for sure, Mark.
Yeah, different conditions for sure, different skills, different everything really, and as usual, the best do tend to get to the front. But thank you everyone for joining us today. It's been a long, hard day on the water for the viewers, probably more so than us. It's always fun for us to be on the water. But thanks to my co-commentators, Andrew Buckland and James Bury, Michael Chiddon, for pressing all the right buttons and making the shots look as good as they are. And thanks for our drone operator, drone catchers, and our camera operator as well. Thanks to all of you, and at home, wherever you are. I hope you have a fantastic weekend, a great week, and feel free to join us next weekend for more skiff racing. See you guys then, and goodbye.